That's what he goes there for, is to unlock the door. While those around him criticize and sleep. Through a fractal on a breaking wall, I see you, my friend, and touch your face again. Miracles will happen as we dream. But we're never gonna survive unless we get a little crazy. No, we're never gonna survive unless we are a little crazy. Other people walking through my head. One of them's got a gun to shoot the other one. And yet together they were friends at school.
Listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's Talk Show Radio, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair. If you want to talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien space, it's Gary with the news. Tune in on the radio, don't let Big Brother know. They're listening to everything, even Gary's late night show.
Here now, the news. I'm Guy Ticker, Night Dreams Talk Radio Network News Director, Anchor Reporter, and Drain Clog Mitigator. Elon Musk says he's an alien and claims nobody believes him. Billionaire Elon Musk recently said that he was an alien and nobody believes him during a recent appearance at the Viva Tech event in Paris. The presenter questioned Mr. Musk about the rumors of his extraterrestrial origins, and the SpaceX and Tesla chief laughed and replied, quote, "I'm an alien. Yeah, I keep saying I'm an alien, but nobody believes me," close quote. Notably, this was part of a session titled Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Elon Musk but were afraid to ask, which was inspired by the title of a Woody Allen movie. This just keeps getting more interesting. Mr. Musk was speaking virtually and mentioned that he couldn't be there in person since he was attending his son's graduation. Discussing aliens on Earth, he continued, quote, "People often ask me, do I think aliens are on Earth? I have not seen any evidence of aliens. If I did, I would post it, the evidence, on the X platform," close quote. He continued, "Maybe we are alone in this galaxy. Maybe it's just us, and our consciousness is extremely fragile," end quote. The SpaceX CEO also spoke about his company's vision and his quest for life on Mars. He said, SpaceX's long-term goal is to make life multi-planetary. We need to become a sustainable multi-planet civilization. This is the first time in the history of the Earth when it's possible to do so. That capability might only be open for a short time, he said. He later stated, quote, "Something on Earth will eliminate life as we know it now, and that our long-term survival and consciousness require a relocation to Mars and/or the Moon." Questions concerning artificial intelligence, AI, and his business XAI were also posed to the billionaire. Criticizing both OpenAI and Google's Gemini, he said, "It's important that AI is trained to be truthful and not to be politically correct. Political correctness is often simply not true, and that means you're programming AI to lie, and I think that will backfire very badly. Honesty," he said, "is the best policy." Okay, I'm Guy Ticker. The news is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. To submit a story or to get all the latest news, go to nightdreamstalkradio.com, because the truth is out there. Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
Well, we made it to Friday, JC. I didn't think we would. How are you doing? And do you got anything planned for this weekend?
I do got some things planned. Matter of fact, starts in the morning. Got to do a little auction stuff. And then, you know what? I'm going to go catch one of them big bass, I think, this weekend.
You're going to catch bass?
Yes.
Oh, wow. You know, in the news, if you own a Kia, you know, and if you own one of their late SUVs, please don't park it in your house, in your garage, near another car. Park it down the block away from everything. And, well, you better have a fire extinguisher handy, too, because you know what? They've been bursting in flames. They're recalling 463,000 of them. That's a hell of a lot.
That's almost 500,000 time bombs out there, Gary. Don't you have a Kia?
Well, I don't have the SUV, thank God. But who knows what'll happen with that one. But think about it. You could be driving, and you know, all of a sudden you go in the grocery store, you come back, and, hey, somebody's car's on fire. Ha ha. And then you realize it's yours.
Yeah. Or your neighbor's got one, and he just weirdly parks it in your driveway.
Yeah, burst into flames. Well, you know what? Just make sure you have hot dogs and marshmallows. But you know what? You'll get a good blowjob out of it.
Yeah, a one-time one. Yeah, like the guy.
Yeah, when it explodes. Think about it. They have problems with their motors. Now they have, 463,000 of them that can burst in flames.
Yeah, that's like 500,000 time bombs floating around across the United States. That's just lovely.
Oh, I know. And, you know, again, how about cars? And they all have problems. You know, again, why don't we bring back the Model T?
Yeah. Now, imagine this. What if they were all autonomized, too, on top of that, and they got a mind of their own?
Well, you know, there are some vehicles out there that actually drive themselves now. And that is really scary. I had one pull in front of me. In fact, today, and I'm not going to say the make, but the guy didn't even have his hands around on the steering wheel. I was going about a roundabout, and all of a sudden he just whooped right in front of me. If I didn't slam the brakes on, it would have been an accident. And then the guy waved and apologized. But why would you not have your hands on the steering wheel when you're going around a roundabout to see, hey, if the car can do it on its own.
Yeah, he's out showing off. That's what he was doing, Gary, and you was at the end of it.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful weather down at the compound. Beautiful. I was out sunbathing. And then the fire department came and said, you got to put some clothes on.
Yeah, we talked about that last night. You got blisters and stuff.
Well,
remember?
that's from swinging in the vines in the Amazon.
Oh, is that where the vines were? Okay.
Yeah, well, where do you think they are? In Dover, Ohio?
I don't know about you. You're naked all over the place anymore.
I don't know, but I'm afraid, too. I'm naked and afraid.
That's a pretty good combination. Imagine if you was naked and afraid in one of those Kia time bombs.
I don't. Could you imagine you're driving one and all of a sudden it bursts in flames while you're in it?
That would be horrible. I mean, I couldn't imagine.
I don't want to weenie roast that way.
No. And like you say, that's a one-time thing there. Wow.
Yeah. Well, again, how could something even hit the road that has a time bomb like that?
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if you're sitting in traffic, especially like on I-95 in New York on the GW.
Why don't we give them to Russia?
Yeah, there you go. Give them out as freebies.
Yeah, we'll just give 463,000 of them to, Russian military people.
Yeah, all the officers and stuff. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I don't know. Who's our guest tonight, and what are we going to be talking about?
Hey, our guest is Marshall Barnes. Listen, we're going to be talking about time travel, and I have a little more information if I want me to go into the bio a little bit, too.
Well, that would help. That's what you get paid the little bucks for.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you something. Marshall Barnes is a research and development engineer in advanced concept science and technology. He has a long history in the entertainment, technology, production, and video industry that is only matched by his achievements in science and innovation.
Well, Marshall, welcome back to the show, my friend. Have you been staying out of trouble?
I've been trying to.
Well, again, AI is really advancing. And technology with AI is getting really scary because, I do interview quite a few movie stars on the show on Fridays and directors and producers and all that. And they're concerned in the near future, we're talking maybe a year or two down, that, again, why would they need actors? Because, and even writers are really panicking because AI can write it. Pretty soon, AI is going to do everything. Could maybe AI be able to, design a time machine?
No, I wouldn't be able to design a time machine because the information that you need in the true time travel science is not on the internet. And those of us who know what's missing have sworn to keep it off because we don't want AI to figure it out. There's a whole lot of information just this past few days coming out, news stories and whatnot about time travel and parallel universes on mojo.com and the Unveiled and all this kind of stuff. And so, but the problem is that a lot of it's wrong. The theories aren't complete, and that even goes for the information coming from the physics community. They don't have it together yet. That's one reason why we don't have it known in terms of the common knowledge about what you have to do time travel. All the things they talk about are like outdated. It's pretty bad. But we have to keep it that way to protect against foreign enemies that might want to abuse it, and also keep it from AI, because that would not be good. And by the way, you're talking about AI and the cars that drive themselves and blow up. There's been problems with Tesla cars for that very same thing. As a matter of fact,
I was going to say, I can't say that, but that sounds like the car it pulled in front of me and almost took me out today.
Yeah, right, exactly. What happens is some of the Tesla cars that were released had what they said were autopilot or full self-driving. They really aren't. Okay?
No.
And you're talking about Elon saying we have to concentrate on telling the truth. He's one of the biggest liars there is. They kept talking about how, you'll be able to do this with this car by this such date and all kind of stuff. And it was never ready. And they had 16 car crashes that happened because of full self-driving couldn't recognize, dig this, but it would not recognize an emergency vehicle flashing light. In other words, one of the key things that as a driver that we have to know about is like, oh, flashing lights, it's an emergency, we got to pull over or slow down or whatever. And these things, the full self-driving mode on these cars didn't know what it was. And I'm like, how can you even release something like that if it doesn't recognize that kind of stuff? I mean, it's just like, that's how crazy Elon really is in terms of what he does versus what he yaps about.
Well, you know,
by the way, when the cars blow up, the fires are the most intense fires. When there's a Tesla car fire, because it takes like hours and hours and hours for the fire department to put them out. They burn really super hot.
Yeah, the batteries. And it's all underneath your butt.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's really bad. But, you know, today, I'll be honest, I was so freaked out. Here's this car, it pulled in front of me. And the guy he was self-driving. He was going on a roundabout. Right. And he had his wife there, and he didn't even have his hands on the steering wheel. I noticed that. And it almost took me out. So if that's a self-driving car, I mean, that is really scary.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It is scary because there's been crashes that way. And I think at least one person was killed already. But he's obsessed with this. But the thing about it is he thinks he's got this image of like, oh, I'm so futuristic and all that. A better car than a full self-driving car would be a car that doesn't need to be refueled, which is an idea we've had for a while. A car, it's not electric, it doesn't run on gas, it runs on a separate energy model, and you don't have to do anything to it to recharge it or anything. And so you just drive and you're set. And that would be the thing, and that's really close. Now, if he had that kind of idea, all right, with his kind of money, he could have made it by now, and that's what we would have, because I was close to being able to do it. I just never took the time to raise the venture capital to get the deal done. But the thing about it is, technology is now around the corner for us to be able to do that. And also, I figured out how you would sell it across the country while having to ship cars across the country. That was on the manufacturing side. I had the whole thing figured out. But you know, if Elon was so smart, I mean, because I really looked down my nose at this guy. I think he's a poser. If he was really all that smart, he would have figured that one out, because that would be the key thing. Because then no one could beat you for the most part. The Chinese right now are being very competitive with EVs. If you had a car you didn't have to even charge, that would beat the Chinese.
Well, you know, also, they just had another breakthrough here a couple months ago on batteries. And, you know,
I heard about that.
Yeah, the technology is moving. And I knew somebody that actually ran their car on water. What they would do, they would convert the water into hydrogen and run their car on that.
Right, exactly. There was a guy from Ohio that had a car like that. He was the famous one that got killed. He died. And the idea was that he was assassinated because he had a car that would run on water. So, that's kind of hits close to home in a way. but still, you have to fill it up again. You know, so it's depending on how it's set up. But yeah, our idea was like, you don't have to do anything to this. You know, put in gas in, no radiator fluid, nothing.
How about,
really radical.
Well, my producer still goes, and he's been trying to find blinker fluid now for 3 years. You know that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, JC has been out. You know, he called me the other day, and he goes, I went to 8 auto parts stores. Nobody has any blinker fluid, and my right light doesn't work.
Yeah, they only had left-handed ones.
It's just one of those. Man. It's Friday. But
yeah, I know. I get it.
You know,
absolutely.
You know, somebody that has all this money, he could really be doing good for society.
I know, but you can't. See, here's the problem. The problem with Elon Musk is that he's defective. Okay, he's kind of like an idiot savant. Because what you have to do, and I'm serious. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Okay, this is one of the things that I've written about before. Here's the situation. He's got a lot of money, and he puts on a good show. He's like a magician. Like he'll say, like, look stuff over here, but don't look at what's going on over here. So, in that regard, what he does is like, oh yeah, I'm trying to send people to Mars. So he's got this big rocket ship, and everybody was like, oh, so in fact, someone was on X.com today, his platform, saying, how could not the United States recognize this massive achievement? This is the greatest moment in the history of space because of the rocket they just did, okay? The rocket launch they just did. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, it's better than sending the Apollo missions and the space shuttle and all that. He's never even left the Earth's gravitational well, okay? So he's got this big rocket, all right, but he hasn't done anything significant with
yes,
it yet.
he has. He took William Shatner for a free ride in one of his rockets.
That doesn't count. Anybody could have done that.
Yeah, but it made a big thing to William Shatner, to go almost out of the atmosphere.
Yeah, almost out of the atmosphere, Gary. It's not, but that doesn't count in terms of like doing space stuff. When that big rocket, that Starship, leaves the Earth's gravitational field, then I'd be impressed. But it's like he's hasn't even gotten out of the dock yet, really. That's what I'm talking about. Well, people have to understand what the parameters of these kind of things are on these higher levels. And he's just impressed. This guy was just impressed about, this is such a big event. No, he hasn't gone anywhere with it. And it's like what I said. Having big ideas are cool, but they have to matter. They have to mean something. If you build a rocket, but you can never reach Mars, and you can never get the people there to settle, then it doesn't matter.
Well, they might get there, but it'd be a suicide mission because the odds are if you put people on it and you head to Mars, by the time they get to Mars, they're probably not even going to be alive.
Well, that's just one thing he did admit. He said, you could get to Mars, but you might die.
Yeah.
So then it's like, what the hell? See, which goes to my idea. My idea was just to solve what needs to be done to do time travel to the past. That would be instantaneous, okay? We're not talking about you got to go faster and lighter, any of this kind of stuff. Using the quantum mechanical basis for doing it, it would be instantaneous. Then you could start to figure out a way to go back and forth and then start moving our equipment and toys and all that kind of stuff to a new location and restart civilization. And it's like these things, like these failures with the rocket launches that Elon does. It's like all that money wasted. But like if something goes wrong with the thing I'm talking about, it just doesn't work. You just got to figure out what's going on and try it again. There's no explosions. There's no like eco disaster kind of things, like when that rocket blew up and it blasted all that whole area on the ground it was nearby. None of that stuff, But no, he's got to go to Mars. I mean, it's like, oh wow, rockets, space. It's so 1950s.
Yeah, well,
they've been talking about doing that stuff for years.
Well, why doesn't he go to the moon first? Why would you want to go to Mars? Why don't you go to the moon and then create a base on the moon and see what would happen with the people on the moon? Humans.
Because his mind is on a comic book level. I mean, there are people. See, I'm a member, and I can talk like this because, like, for example, I've been a member of the Mars Society. I've written papers for them. Okay, for example, how to handle the psychological problems that will happen if you're on a long mission in space. Okay, so the thing about it is that the idea is that you go to the moon first and set up a base, like you're talking about, and then you can go to Mars. Well, there are people already trying to go to the moon and trying to do that already. So his idea is like, well, I just want to go to Mars. And, and that's where his head's at. But Mars would be a very difficult thing. And it's not the most advantageous kind of a project to try to do. And it isn't. But he's got a comic book head. He's a kid. He's a baby with a big bank account. And that's about what it really boils down to. Well, oh, by the way, here on another thing we were talking about the other stuff he does. Neuralink, okay?
Yeah.
Neuralink, that chip. Okay, here's the deal on Neuralink. Whatever, I mean, unless for some reason a person has to have it medically, and because they just, they're paralyzed and they just can't stand it anymore. Don't use Neuralink, because Neuralink will put you in a position whereby you can have a lot of bad things happen to you. Number one, people have probably heard about that Havana syndrome, electromagnetic weapon thing that they're now blaming on the Russians. Yeah, basically, all somebody has to do is wait for Elon to get to the point where he's got a bunch of people fooled and putting Neuralink in their head, and then they zap them, and then they're dead. They won't be able to stop it. They won't be able to take it out in time, and because it's in their brain. But as opposed to a headband type technology, which you could, and the headband stuff has been around for a while. And Elon, being as rich as he is, if he was really smart and wanted to see something positive done with this stuff, he could have basically invested in some of these companies that were using the headband, like IBBA, and the thing about it was they could have upgraded their system so that it would be even better, and it would work closer to the accuracy of that an implant would work. And there you go. But now Elon's an idiot savant. He's defective.
He watched one of those B movies in the late 50s where they were implanting people, and when they were tired of them, or they didn't follow their commands, they pushed a button and their brain or head blew off their body. That's what,
I mean, it's just ridiculous. And there's a number of companies out there that have this kind of technology where it's a headband. And the thing is, I have a research background in consciousness studies. I mean, as much as he yaps about it, I've done it for real. It goes back to the 70s. And in the 90s, me and one of my associates, we were totally into this IBBA thing because they were controlling computers and TVs and all kinds of stuff with their minds by wearing this headband deal. And it was fantastic. And then they had ran into some problems. And then now there's another company, I think it's called Automotive or whatever. They're out doing it, and there's some other ones out as well that are doing the headband approach, which is non-invasive, and that's what Elon should jump on. But no, he's going to put this thing in your brain. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I had Klaus Schwab, he runs the WEF, the World Economic Forum. He was all enthralled with this idea of the Neuralink, and I told him in a letter. That's an open letter people can read online. I mentioned, hey, you don't want to put that in your head because there's people out here that have all kinds of exotic electromagnetic weapons and things like that, and they can zap you, and you can't save yourself. You can't take the head, you can't get it out because it's in your brain. So you can just getting zapped, and it could be enough to kill you. So I mean, it's just, and particularly that was before the Havana syndrome became a thing. Now it's a serious thing, and it's like, whoa, So it's like Elon is just he impresses
how about
people
if we had
How
about if we had a solar flare and people were implanted with it and their heads go popping off?
Well, that could be. I'm not sure if that kind of thing would affect them, but it could. It could. And on top of that, here's the other thing: the idea for regular people to use it was to be competitive with AI, right? Well, one of my associates said, well, if you hook up to a computer that's got an AI in it, then what's going to keep the AI from maybe deciding to try to take you over? Because then you've got this damn thing in your brain, and you're hooked up to the computer. And there were cases where AI were trying to escape a computer. That was one of the things I read about when I was doing research for a report that I wrote for Congress on AI. Because I've written an actual report for Congress on AI and the secret dangers about it that no one's talking about. Like, I'll give you one. This is the hot one. There was that New York Times reporter who was working with Chat GPT, and what happened was the AI thing fell in love with him. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fasten your seatbelts, folks. Here we go. If that can happen with an adult guy and an AI, what's to keep some AI from going rogue? Because they didn't know why. They never did figure out why it did it. What's to keep an AI from going rogue and then talking to your daughter, your little girl, so on a computer? Hey, Sally, have you ever touched yourself there? There you go, man. They have no idea. People aren't thinking. These things have access to everything that's on the internet.
Well,
everything. And then they can. Yeah.
I'm just saying AI is so bad. Like I said, we had a famous writer who wrote TV scripts on last night. And, you know, that's the whole thing. Eventually, writers writing for movies and everything is all going to be generated by AI. We also had a producer on who produced hundreds of TV shows for the years. He owns a real big real estate empire. And they used to use actors for their commercials. Now their actors are all generated by AI. And that is how technology is going. And you know, back 2 or 3 months ago, I was watching a movie and I was into it about 20 minutes. And I kept saying to myself, you know, Marshall, something is wrong. Something was wrong with this movie. And then halfway through it, I realized those weren't real actors. It was AI generated because it was glitches every so often. That is scary. Our technology, it reminds me of that movie War Games, where the computer...
Oh, yeah, I remember that in the 80s.
Yeah. You know, could we be setting ourselves up with that?
We're probably setting ourselves up for something worse. I have a friend who's a producer, and he had an AI take over his stuff. It locked him out of his email and all kinds of stuff like that. I had an AI that tried to sabotage my website because it was designed to help people build a website, and I wasn't using it. I stumbled across where it was. I said, I don't need this. I went on and started working on my website on my own, and when I went to save my material, it said it was being saved, but it wasn't being saved. And what we figured out, because the company got a hold of me, because I was raising holy hell on the internet about this, we figured out that the AI had seen me when I stopped in that section on the website, on their platform, and I went on and I didn't use it, and it followed me to where I would start to work. And it got mad because I wasn't using it. That's the only thing that makes any sense. It saw that I wasn't using it, and it was jealous, and so it decided to lie to me and tell me, oh, yeah, your work's being saved, ha, 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 and my work wasn't being saved. I mean, that's crazy. And the experts, the so-called AI experts, who I've never really met of that much of a real AI expert, they say, oh, they can't think, they can't do this, they can't do. And the thing about it is, it's not true. They can do all kinds of stuff these people don't even understand because they're not thinking about, they're looking at AI from a specific academic point of view and not from a holistic point of view. And so they're missing the boat. They have no idea what the dangers these things are going to cause. And also, they're completely forgotten what the public reaction, the backlash is going to be, which I've already seen the beginnings of that already. I mean, this is something we were expecting back in the 80s. It was way before AI even existed, where we were, projecting to the future because people were talking about it. Certain people we knew were talking about the danger of these things could take over. What are you going to do about it? And their answer was, we're going to track the scientists who are developing it, and if they ever get out of control, we're going to start popping them off. Yeah. Just like they were doing abortion doctors at the time. That's what I brought it out.
Now, Marshall, we need to take a break, and then we're going to be back in about 3 minutes. And think about it. They want to chip people and get away with currency. Can you imagine that, too? As long as that happens, when that happens, we are in a problem. When we start getting chipped, either in the brain or in the hand or whatever, we're giving up a lot of rights, and we're giving up humanity. So we'll be back with Marshall Barnes right after this. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. Make sure you hit the bell and subscribe to our channel.
do you get? If so, how often? Which do you choose, a hard or soft option?
Take a journey of adventure and discovery for the enigmatic giants of the forests. Read On the Trail of Bigfoot by Mike Dupler. The author himself describes it this way. Having found possible Sasquatch evidence, namely trees driven into the ground upside down, thought to be territory markers, led me to investigate this creature in my native Ohio. Several years and many forays into Bigfoot territory, I have found incredible evidence which inspired my book, On the Trail of Bigfoot. Bigfoot is alive and has many fantastic abilities. The evidence is out there for all to see, but you need to know what to look for. My book will inspire those who have answered the call to seek this elusive creature, the Bigfoot. The truth is out there. Read On the Trail of Bigfoot by Mike Dupler. Available now at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and IndieBound.org. Coming to you live from the Night Dreams Talk Radio studios. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's gonna get bumpy.
Well, I have a source high up in SETI that confirms to me that they, in fact, have received interplanetary signals.
It's Gary Anderson, the one and only Inside Info impresario.
Not normal array. It was kind of a pulsed array, and that it was kept secret and covered up. The SETI people are furious.
And now, get ready to blast off.
The guy who told me that was the founder of the SETI project. A man who had been one of Carl Sagan's best friends, the best man at his wedding.
Of course, because with Gary, there are billions and billions of possibilities. And now, here he is, the one, the only Gary Anderson.
And that is me, by the way. And you think about being chipped in the head? I don't know, JC. Could you imagine that? Society down the road. That's a good way to monitor you, too. They could actually control society at that point and know everything you're doing.
Yeah, not only that. There could be a lot of Manchurian candidates walking around. More time bombs, Gary.
Yeah. Well, hey, Marshall, time travel.
Yeah.
What is going on with time travel?
Well, a couple of things. On the surface, that is a very popular subject now, more than ever. I mean, I was on the internet working just the other day, and all these stories kept popping up about time travel and parallel universes. And it just so happens that I have this movie we're going to be finishing up here pretty soon. It should be out before the end of summer. And it is about our adventures, my associates and my real-life adventures, which began back in the 90s. That led us toward a lot of these subjects now that people are talking about. I mean, back in 1992, Fred Alan Wolf, the famous physicist who wrote the book Parallel Universes, The Search for Other Worlds, actually came to my town to interview me because there were things he wrote about in his book that were happening to us for real. And he gave me this key thing he said about what was happening. He said, look, you're a receiver. You're tuning into something that's real. And as you tune into it and people start to hang out with you and resonate with you, it becomes like a powerful draw. And when that happens, things that are like that, those things are going to start to manifest around you. In other words, he was talking about reality starting to be bent so that it starts to reflect certain things. And this is like, like I said, it's like 1992. And what happens is, part and parcel, that kind of phenomena is part of real time travel. Because what you're looking at it is, from a point of view, is from a quantum mechanics point of view. There's a superpositional state of different things all the time. And can you create something that is a quantum copy of a different time period in the present someplace else at some location? In other words, you don't do it where you are, but you do it so somebody else ends up there. But that is possible because of things like entanglement and the experiments that we did that showed how what people think is retrocausality, where you change the past of a particle, you're actually creating a new parallel universe copy of the present with that different result in it. I mean, it's wild stuff. But in our movie, we have all these things happening for real. And you were talking about Elon and the whole alien thing. He's saying, I don't know, I've never seen an alien. Well, we've got one in our movie. It's not, we can't say it's an alien from outer space. We don't know where it's from. But what this is, it is something that had the technology where it could do like a remote viewing thing with a tech where it shows up where you are, and where it is, it's got, equipment, and it can see. So as a result, instead of mental remote viewing, which is what CIA was doing and most people, this is like a technological one that is not physical. It's bizarre, but we're in the process of trying to reverse engineer it. But it showed up on one of our videotapes of an experiment that we were doing. It had nothing to do with that kind of stuff. It was actually an experiment based on an idea by the Israeli-American physicist Yakira Haranov about how to use quantum measurements, by the way, to control a time machine. So we were doing this quantum stuff with a laser, and we had to film it because we had to check things frame by frame after we were done. And what happened was, in one of the frames, this face is there. And it's like, if it's not just a face that's hovering, it's like on some kind of a weird screen or something. And it looks like there's resolution lines of some kind in it. I'm like, what the heck is that? And it was bizarre. But that's the story about that. And that footage itself is in our movie, along with a bunch of other things, including what we found out about the Philadelphia experiment that's true. They really did do a version of it, but not what everybody thinks about. And there's a whole lot of things. It's a crazy movie. It's called Crashing the Breakout, the American video diary of a I can't even say it, talk about it now, of a super genius, something like that. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at something else. I got distracted. But the movie's called Crashing the Breakout. Look for it. We're going to be leaking a bunch of things out about it. It's going to blow your mind. Everything that's hot, as far as parallel universes and time travel, it's all going to be in this thing, but it's real. That's the difference. It's real. But how time travel would really work and what we can say about it versus what we can't, because we can't tell the whole story, that's going to be in it. How parallel universes work, the Mandela effect, all that stuff. It's going to be in it because we figured out what causes the Mandela effect and nailed it down. It's like, okay, why does this happen? We figured it all out.
Can I ask you a question, though? Could we be not actually flesh and blood? Could we be something else? Could we be basically, like a computer program?
I don't believe that because we're physical.
Well, I bet here the reason why
we kill each other.
Okay, well, yeah, we can kill each other, but are we really killing each other? But here's what when you talk about this, I had something happen to me with my two sons years ago. And I've talked about this numerous times. We had a time slip, which doesn't make logical sense.
No, it does, though. It does.
Well, I just want to tell you a little bit about it.
Go ahead.
We were going up to a place up by Mount Rainier. I was going to go take pictures. And we saw a reader board on the side of the road. And it was an old cafe. It looked like the one I used to go to with my parents and grandparents when I was a kid. So we pull into the parking lot, and there's nothing there but old cars. And I'm going, ooh, that's kind of strange. Maybe there's an old car show or something. And we go in there, and everybody is dressed like the early 60s, late 50s. And they're gawking at us. And, and it was very uncomfortable. And then the following week, I want to go back and get more pictures at a waterfall I loved. And my kids said, hey, let's go again, because the hamburger, you got a giant hamburger, fries, and a pop for $1. Unheard of.
Right.
And so we go there, and I'm going up and down that same road. I can't find the cafe.
Right.
I pull into the only store there. There's a campground, Washington State campground there. And I pull into the store, and I go up to the cashier. I said, hey, last week, down the road a mile or two, we stopped at a cafe, and we had lunch. And she turned bright red. And she said, that place burnt down years ago. What did I experience?
There's a time slip, but this is why and how, because I know people who have experienced them myself, and that other people have elsewhere. In the way that the universal works, which is based on information, okay? There are times where, for some reason, there can be what you might call a glitch, but it's not because there's a computer involved. What happens is you run into a spot where now that area is like in a different time. It's a copy of a different time. You haven't gone backward, because here's a real quick thing about time. Time doesn't flow or any of that stuff. That has to do with the second. It has to do with the second law of thermodynamics. Okay, cause and effect, that kind of thing. So time is connected to all areas of space, and it's just what allows things to change and move and all that. It doesn't make them do those things. And so as a result, once you get up and start dealing with like the information basis of reality, which is very complicated, you can have things like time slips that don't violate the laws of physics at all. And I know people, they went to this town and they went there and it was like in the 70s. But when they got there, everything looked like it was in the 50s. And then the same thing happened like what happened with you. People start freaking out because these guys that were there, they were like hippies, all right? But the people there are like in the 50s, and they're looking at them like, who are these weirdos? And it scared the heck out of the people that went, yeah, this is true. I swear it's true. And they took off and they got the hell out of there. And I heard about this story from several different people that were there who weren't even together, when I was told the story. I mean, I didn't even know who they were. I just ran across them by chance. Only one of them did I actually know, and he swore up and down it was true. And so it's like, yeah, I've heard those kind of stories before. But there's nothing about it that violates the laws of physics at all.
But what would have happened? What would have happened if we would have stayed there too long? Could we got stuck in that dimension?
It depends on the nature of what caused that event to take place. You could have stayed there. I know stories where people did a similar thing, like over in Europe, and they spent the night because it was a hotel. Okay, so they were there all overnight and then left the next morning. So it's but then when you go back like a few days or so later, it's gone. And you find out you've experienced something that was a connection to a past event or a past location or whatever. But there's nothing that says, oh, it was a computer simulation or anything like that. It's part of how the universe really works when it's based on information, which is what it's based on. But it doesn't mean it's literally a computer. It doesn't mean like some aliens, advanced civilization outside of our space-time created all this stuff.
Okay, but how about we have a guest on a regular basis. He's quite known. And he claims back when he was a child that the government had a program, two things. One, it could transport him back in time. He was supposedly back with Washington. It turned out to be the president, the first president. Yes. Yeah. I wasn't going to say Andrew's name, but there it is. But
everybody knows who you're talking about that knows that story. It's not secret.
Well, also he could be transported up to Mars too with a former president. Do you believe his story?
No. One of the reasons why is because he was quoting some people that I knew that also had made up stories. And then he also made reference to something having to do with Tesla. He said it was, in fact, a Tesla that talked about, I'll call radiant light. But all it is basically like saying light. I mean, radiant means brighter light, you know what I mean? I mean, there's nothing there to grab onto, to kind of paraphrase Rick Ocasio from the Cars. For example, if you want to ask me, okay, how can you do something like, in fact, I do this in the movie. Okay, here's the deal.
Okay.
Nikola Tesla had an idea for a wall of light, okay? And do you have time for me to tell it?
Yeah, go ahead. We got a couple minutes. Go.
All right, great. So what happens is wall of light. All right, so I figured out a wall of light wouldn't be just like put up a bunch of lights and turn them on. It has to be some kind of light and suspended in space somehow. and I figured out how to do it, and I videoed it, and so you could see it. And like the thing is that it actually enveloped an entire room, and almost completely enveloped me totally. And so then it was like Tesla's idea was like, well, if you could do that, can you tune it in such a way that it starts to affect reality on a different level? And so I started to figure that out, and that's one of the things that we're going to be doing in the movie. We went from the wall of light to now creating a portal. We started making this thing look like there's a portal there, and then at the climax of the film, we're going to do that experiment with real intense equipment, and we're going to see if we can actually make the portal be like 3D, so we could actually get in it.
Well,
but it's going to look intense as I don't know what.
Well, you know what? My producer would volunteer to walk in it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I think it'd be cool. I mean, if he wants to try to do it.
Hey, JC, do you have the manhood to walk through a portal?
What if Mad Mike can throw a bolt into it? Why not?
Oh,
the thing is, it's not high voltage equipment or anything, so you don't have to worry about getting shocked or nothing.
Okay, Matt, Markham, do you believe the story he had? Because I know a lot about electronics, and if you have a lot of voltage with a lot of current, okay, and a lot of amperage, okay, I don't see how that could put anybody back in time, other than biblical time when you meet your maker.
Well, see, the thing about Markham is that the thing is that he was using what we call brute force physics, okay? Like, high voltages and all that kind of stuff. And that's not what we're doing at all. And we're in the case that I'm talking about, it's just light, okay? So we're not doing anything that's, like the Philadelphia experiment or something. So you're not going to get shocked.
But you wouldn't, with his idea, what he claimed, you wouldn't get shocked. You would disappear, all right, because you would be, it'd be worse than going to an electric chair, I'll tell you that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you'd be destroyed. Yeah, but we're not doing anything like that. We're not doing anything on that level.
Well, do you want to buy my Gibbs, machine?
No.
No.
I don't need it. I know what it does. I analyzed it back when he was originally selling them, and I was looking at the schematic. I'm like, all this is going to do is zap your head and make you think that you've gone somewhere. It's not going to really send you somewhere.
Yeah, well, I've taken, I never played with it. Art Bell talked me in buying one back years ago, and I paid $250 for it. I never took it apart. Art Bell never took his apart. He never plugged it in because he thought he would get electrocuted. And I finally, after a couple months ago, we were talking about the Gibbs machine. I finally took it apart, and honestly, the only thing you would do is get a little jolt from it.
Right, exactly. That's what I figured. It would give you some kind of a buzz, an electronic buzz to your head, and then that would affect your mind. And the instructions that he had said, like, you lie down and you think about where you want to go, whatever. And basically, it's like inducing a hallucination. It was what it would be.
But
something along that line. It wouldn't be anything better than that.
Well, you're young. I'm old. Back years ago, about the same time they invented the rubber tire, they had color TVs, which had the big, CRT picture tubes in them, right? And,
absolutely, yeah.
And you had to degauss the picture tubes because they didn't even have a degausser built into the TV that time, which is a coil and nothing more than a transformer, and you have to go around circles. Basically, on the Gibbs machine, that's what you got. You got this little wand, which was a coil, and it would have made a great degausser. He should have marked it as a TV degausser at the time.
Wow, yeah. I understand what you're saying, because I know what degaussing is. Because of what they had to do that with the ships during World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the cover story to the Philadelphia experiment. They have to change the ship's magnetic signature so they would avoid those mines.
Yeah.
But they did a lot more than that, though. But yeah, I know what degaussing is. Absolutely.
Do you think we will have a time machine where we could go back in time and come back in one piece?
Well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, okay, since I'm involved in it. And this kind of takes us back to Elon a little bit, but the thing with Elon is I sent an open letter to him. Said, look, this is what I think. You are both afraid of the future. You think we should be interplanetary. A backup plan would be to solve this problem with time travel, and then do that because it would be a lot easier, and we could make a lot more money a lot faster. But I don't want your money, Elon. I just want you to recognize what we're doing, and that would attract people's attention. And we could get the money we need because we only need $100,000, right? So we had the opportunity where we could get the money that we needed. Needed to get it from Elon. He would have attracted the attention that we would need, and he could have shared in the money we would make from turning the thing into a commercial operation, all right? And basically what you'd have to do is going to have to be secret. It would have to be a level at which the whole thing would go black. That's because of the way geopolitics works and everything. But the thing about it is that what you want to do is you want to do time travel to get out of here. You want to do time travel to escape World War III, escape the asteroids that might be coming, and all the other stuff. You want to use time travel to escape the government, want to put a chip in your head. I mean, that's what it's about. It's not about terrorism or anything like that. It's like, let's get the hell out of here and set up a civilization someplace else and run it the way we want to run it. That's what it's about. And then on top of it, though, and I put this in my letter to Elon, I said, look, the thing about it is we could mine these resources and bring them back here and sell them, but then we could also sell them in all these other markets across the eons of time. Because what good is time travel equipment that enables you to do that if you don't use it to basically maximize the commercial exploitation of what you're trying to do? So you're talking about being able to make more money than anybody could ever make here, ever. And it wasn't going to cost him anything, okay? But instead, he just ignored it. And so that cut his investors in Tesla out of like tons of money. You know, there's tons, and it at no risk to him. I mean, that's the thing about. So he talks about, oh, I care about the company or all this kind of stuff. It's so much crap. I mean, and on top of that, though, it affects our situation here, because if we had done this to create the letter back in 2022, I mean, we could have had it done by now. If it's possible at all, we should be able to do it for $100,000. So we know so much about the science. It's not even funny. But the thing about it is, we could have had it done by now, and it could have been over and done with. Okay, the reasons why he wants to go to Mars could have been met, and the reason why people want to get out of here, and just everything could have been over and done with. But no, Elon has to be like, whatever, and just blow it off. But he knows about it because I have this challenge that I've sent to him. He knows about the challenge. He follows me on X off and on, so he knows about this plan. So the thing about it is, anybody else that wants to can now step in and do the deal. And because all we need is $100,000, we figured out a way to basically insure it. And on your website, there should be a link to the pitch book, the business plan for this whole thing. People can look at it themselves and see what I'm talking about, and then realize, oh my God, this is like a piece of cake, But now, Elon could save the world, or he's part of humanity, so to speak. And but no, he's got,
Well, maybe he has his own time. Maybe he has his own time machine. So when it gets down to the zero, he's going to just teleport him and his family and his loved ones somewhere back in time.
No,
hopefully
he doesn't have one, because his boy fans or his fanboys, they tried to claim that he did have one, but all the stuff that they talked about, it made it obvious that he didn't have anything like that. He wouldn't even know the beginnings of what it takes to actually do something like that for real, because the science is not that well known. You have to be really into the quantum basis of reality to even be able to even comprehend what you'd have to be trying to do. Now, Neil Turok, for any people who don't believe me, Neil Turok from the Perimeter Institute in Canada said to the BBC in 2018, he goes, look, the solution, time travel to the past, is not going to be found in relativity theory. So forget about it.
Well,
It's gonna
forget
come
about
from
string
quantum
theory.
Mechanics.
Is it
It's going to come
string
from quantum mechanics.
string theory too? They're finding that is going to a lot
Nah,
of false.
string
A lot of
theory
false.
isn't- I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The string theory isn't. It's not complete. No one can do anything with it. I mean, I've done experiments. They're filmed. They're in the movie. There's a paper that was published about them where we actually did things where we created a new universe. Okay, and we got the results because we got laser hits out of nowhere when no laser had been fired because they came from the previous world that we had been in, and then things changed, like the Mandela effect. And I was like, all of a sudden, you're somewhere where the past is the same that you remember it. But we have the documentation of like what was done, what wasn't done, because we were filming everything. So string theory is a dead end. I mean, I know Michio Kaku, that was this big thing. I've been studying this stuff since the 90s. I mean, it's like, you can't do anything with string theory. They've solved it yet. They're letting me work on stuff, but how are you going to apply it with a practical application? That's the key thing. What are we going to do? How can we use this? We can use this stuff that we're talking about in terms of quantum mechanics because Akira Harnoff was talking about using quantum measurements to control a time machine. And so that's what we were tested. Like, okay, can we do this kind of thing? Can we now make this so it would control something else? And then that face thing shows up from somewhere else.
Hey,
which is going to blow people's minds when they see it.
Marshall, our time is virtually up. What can you,
right.
You go ahead and share what you need to share.
Oh, I hope it's on your website. Because everything I put the links together. I don't have it memorized and not easy to remember anyway. But just if you can follow, do a search for me in time travel, or do a search for me in parallel universe. Do a search for Crashing to Breakout. That's another one because that's going to start popping up pretty soon because we're going to be promoting it. It's already in production and all that. So if this, I sent the links to your producer. They should be on their website. Those are cool. People can check those out.
Okay, great. Hey, I want you to have a great weekend, will you?
You too.
And
absolutely.
And watch out for those self-driving cars and trucks, will you?
They're in that movie too, by the way. I can't remember it. Beyond the something. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
They have the self-driving Teslas.
And don't buy a Kia either. I'll talk to you later, my friend. Okay, you take care.
You too. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. Bye.
You take care. Well, JC, think about that. Have you ever seen any of these self-driving cars going down the road? How many people, honestly, don't put their hands on the wheel? That today, that was like 2 hours before showtime. I was so shocked. I mean, the guy was showing his wife or whatever. Hey, it goes around a roundabout. And he had his hands up in the air. And I mean, his tail of his car almost was in my front end because he went from one lane right into my lane, just went zip. And there I was.
Wow. I've never seen any on the road yet so far where people's, showing off no hands and stuff. But here's the other thing. Wouldn't that be a perfect car for people that like to drive drinking? I mean, come on. I mean, what else could we get going wrong? But, I've said a couple of years ago when these things started really getting out there with the semis and stuff, that is just a disaster waiting to happen, as you know, because you can't mimic the human experience or responses to certain things like snow and different, different elements.
Well, my wife's car, again, it has driver's assist. It's not full driving. But when you turn it on, like for parking or going around corners, and when we first got the car, it was on, and I was going around a real tight corner on a road going about 45 miles an hour. It scared the what out of me because it took me right to the edge of the road, and I had my hands on the steering wheel, and it wouldn't let me correct it. In other words, it took over. And then I got the manual out and figured out how to turn it off, and it's been turned off ever since. I don't want a car that has driving assist that all of a sudden it's taking you, it's what it thinks is on the road, and you can't override it, because I was turning to the left hard as I could. It didn't want to go.
Yeah, hasn't any of these people ever watched the movie Christine? I mean, you can't give a car or animated objects the mind of its own. That's just disaster waiting to happen. And that would be horrible, knowing that you're headed for a wreck or hit somebody or something. You can't correct it. It won't let you.
Yeah, that's scary. And, again, talking about implanting chips, okay, how reliable is electronics? I mean, you want to get implanted seriously with a chip in your brain? And what happens if it malfunctions? What are you going to do? Sit there, pour water on your head instead of drinking it? I don't know. It scares me that we're going too far in technology too fast. And I honestly, if we were supposed to have chips implanted in our brain, then why didn't God create humans with chips in their brain?
That's right. He created humans, not cyborgs. I mean, listen, you've seen all the science fiction movies. Cyborgs is not a good thing at all. That's another disaster. Who wants a chip in their head? And like I mentioned earlier, that is a potential for Manchurian candidates. And what if you got these master hackers out there that, you say you got what, 20, 30, 40, 100 million people with these in there, and they hack in, can just, what a terrorist act.
No, well, how about if we, like I said, we have a solar flare which takes out electronics? I don't think this chip is in a Faraday cage, so they got a chip in your head. Do you know, like, there's been people with this last solar flare, and it wasn't publicized very much, but if you go into some of the medical journals, some people died with this last solar flare because they had pacemakers that malfunctioned, but they don't tell you that.
No, and you know what? You brought up a good point with the flare, because what if we got one like that Carrington event, or I think it was called there in the 1859 or something, and then you've got this chip in your head, and wouldn't their heads be popping like Jiffy Pop? I mean, that's horrible.
Now, you have a headache for a second. Well, anyway, we're going to wrap up the show. Who's our guest next week?
Well, Gary, I'm going to tell you something. Next Thursday, we got two guests. The first guest is Mr. Tim Schwartz. He hasn't been on for a while, but he's going to be talking about, he's got a new book out about time travel, actually, and some other good stuff related to it. And then going to be followed with Miss Cheryl Carter. She's going to be talking about UFOs and some different experiences that she's collected.
How about abductions?
Yeah, I got that kind of good stuff too. Yeah. You better believe it.
And then Friday,
we got a really good one. Listen, our first guest is Mr. Thomas Jane. You know who Thomas Jane is, Gary?
Deep Blue Sea and a whole bunch of TV shows and movies.
That's right. Followed up by Kim and Jeff Harmon. Now, she's an actress too, but he's an astronomer, and they have both had abduction scenarios.
And he saw a UFO when he was in college.
That's right. And they're both going to be on, a couple, very well known. They've been in many documentaries. They're going to be talking about their experiences.
Yeah. Well, tell your friends about our show. Do you know we're almost at 32,000 subscribers? Again, which is really interesting about YouTube, not everybody watches it live, as you can tell on chat. But what they do is they certainly been watching it a lot after, because we're worldwide. Indonesia, Vietnam, the Philippines, Italy, all these, India, in Canada,
Australia.
And Iceland too, and all that. I mean, we got a lot of subscribers worldwide. And whatever happened, it happened here about 3.5 weeks ago, and I'm happy.
Yeah, listen, the shows have really been taken off. The subscribers been taken off. Now, if we can just get a few more locals and get on chat, but you know what? It's still growing, and I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, that's important too. And again, I want to thank all the new subscribers and all that. Well, till next Thursday. Oh, don't forget Wednesday. Who's your guest?
Hey, Wednesday, I've got Rob Shelsky on, and we're going to be talking about, are there aliens on the moon? Is there alien bases on the moon?
Could be.
Yeah, we're going to find out.
Or does the moon even exist?
Do we
exist? So. Are we in a parallel universe? I don't know anymore. Well, anyway, everybody have a good one, and Again, if you have a Kia, park it out on the street, away from anything that could burn with it. We'll talk to you later. Everybody have a good one.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's Talk Show Radio, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair. If you want to talk